So today I would like to meditate on Psalm 37 with you. I got to lead a small study on this passage just a few minutes ago, and I want to read through this with you and share some of the thoughts that I had reading this with the group that I was a part of. So I'll read through it one time, and then I'll just highlight some of the things that I'm noticing and maybe some things that you might benefit from as you see the text too. So Psalm 37, 1 through 9, this is the New American Standard Version, 1995. Do not fret because of evildoers. Be not envious toward wrongdoers, for they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he will do it. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who carries out wicked schemes. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil doing. For evildoers will be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord, they will inherit the land. So there's a phrase repeated here 3 times. And the first couple of times that I read this by myself, I didn't even recognize that it was 3 times. So it wasn't until I read it with others that I was like, oh yeah, this is repeated 3 times. So I think this might be the heart of what is trying to be communicated to us right now. And before reading this, I don't go around saying fret. So I maybe assume what it meant, but fret means to be constantly or visibly worried or anxious about something. So this is a high level of anxiety. You know you are anxious when someone is able to look at you and tell by your demeanor, by your posture that you are anxious. So this psalm is encouraging the reader not to have that high level of anxiety, especially when it comes to maybe things working out in the world that doesn't make sense to you. And I think that's something that's really speaking to me right now. But I want to go through this maybe line by line to see some things that we might take home looking at this text. So first of all, we see do not fret 3 times, and we've been able to recognize that this is a high level of anxiety. And so I'm reminded of passages like in the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus says, look at the lilies of the field, look at the birds of the air. Don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear. The pagans worry about these things. Like, this is something that your Heavenly Father knows you need. So your Heavenly Father is going to provide these things for you. So there's a common message in these words here. And I know it's kind of odd to just have somebody say, don't do something, right? But I appreciate this psalm, or even what Jesus says, because it's not just simply don't be anxious. It's you're swapping your anxiety for something else. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to swap our anxiety or our frustrations or whatever we don't necessarily want to consume us. We have to swap those things for something else. And this psalmist is saying, swap your high anxiety for trust and surrender. So do not fret because of evildoers. Be not envious toward wrongdoers. When I first read this, I was like, why would someone be envious toward wrongdoers? And it might be that someone is envious toward wrongdoers because maybe the wrongdoers are getting away with it. And sometimes doing things the right way doesn't seem to be appealing when doing something the wrong way is being rewarded, or it appears to be the case that these things are being rewarded. So this is a reality that I think some of us can struggle with. We can be envious towards those that are, if we're trying to do the right thing, right, we can be envious towards those that are not, because we see that their lives are looking different from mine. Discipline, their discipline is challenging, to say no to something, to be committed to a certain path of living, the path of love. That is a challenging thing to do. It is a narrow way for a reason, and it's very reasonable to be on the narrow way, or to attempt to be on the narrow way, and see the wide way, and see how people are benefiting on the wide way, and maybe be jealous of that. I think that's a very human thing, to deal with. So he says, don't have that posture. Adjust your posture, for they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. These people that are on the wide path, I think the wide road leads to destruction. And I don't want to talk about like afterlife things, because I think we can read a lot of afterlife ideology into this text. But let's just look at it on face value, and look at it as something that's very real in our own reality. It's very rooted in our own reality. So you may say they might wither quickly. Like, I think the common thing we see in the Old Testament is like there are real consequences about some of the actions that we can. There are real consequences for the actions that we have, and some of these consequences can literally be life damaging. They could take our lives, and I think this is how um, they're seeing the path of destruction, or the wide path. It's a path that it can be life altering, because it kills you. It can kill you. Hatred can kill you. Um, and I mean that literally. I think that's something that's still true today. I mean, we can look into these studies. I mean, I don't know anything about these studies, but I can imagine that someone that has more hatred in their hearts, I think that could affect their health and eventually lead to their death. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can break down that idea and flesh it out. But I think this is something that still speaks to our experience. So then the writer encourages us to trust in the Lord and do good. Man, this is the heart right here. Trust in the Lord and do good no matter what. No matter what. Even if it doesn't seem like your good is being rewarded, or doesn't seem like there's quote unquote like fruit from the good, or fruit from the trust, right? Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. This is interesting. Like, you might read this and say, what is he talking about? How does this fit? But my thought is like, dwell in the space that everyone else is occupying, but cultivate faithfulness. Like, be in the world, right? But don't be of the world, type of thing. Like, be with the people that are living in ways that you don't necessarily think they should, in ways that you don't want to live, but still cultivate faithfulness. Still be faithful. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. This is a verse that's used quite a bit to, I think, I don't know, justify a lot of things, and talk about like manifesting something. And I think that's okay, but I think that's a shallow way of understanding this. I think when you're able to delight yourself in God and God alone, you're already filled. So when you are able to delight yourself in God, and God is your rest, and God is your fulfillment, naturally everything else is extra. So like your desires become um, God. Does that make sense? When you're full of God, all you want is God, and so the desires of your heart will be filled, I think. And I'm still trying to make sense of that. I hope I'm making sense as I talk about it. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he will do it. Do what? I think he will fill you. He will give you the desires of your heart as you delight yourself in him. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your judgment as the noonday. I This is an interesting line. Like, I don't want judgment, God. I don't want judgment. But I think this can be a gift too. Judgment can be a gift, just like righteousness as the light can be the gift. Correction can be a gift. So he will bring forth your righteousness. God will give you righteousness and as the light, and your judgment as the noonday. Like, I think there's a connection between judgment and righteousness. Maybe I have to be judged to receive righteousness in some way. Okay. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who carries out wicked schemes. I'm mindful of Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. I got his picture on the wall, by the way. That's him and Malcolm X, the only time they ever met in person. I'm influenced by both of these men in different ways. And I could talk about that in another video, but I'm mindful of Dr. Martin Luther King and his nonviolent approach to social change. That is not the way of the world. The way of the world is violence and getting things by brute force. So to trust, I mean, he had a religious conviction that led him to that. And I mean, he was inspired by Gandhi and other people, but I think fundamentally he saw nonviolence in the way of Jesus. And so he took that approach to participate in social change. And that is a way that is resting in the Lord and waiting patiently for the Lord. And it's not that we're passive, because nonviolence is not passivity. It is trusting that there's a higher way. It is submitting to our higher way. And this is what it means to rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him, to surrender how we think we should be doing things, surrender our ego. And I think violence is rooted in ego, I would say. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, maybe the evil way or the violent way, because of the man who carries out wicked schemes. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret it. Do not fret. It leads only to evil doing. This also sounds like the Sermon on the Mount. And then this especially sounds like the Sermon on the Mount. For evildoers will be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord, they will inherit the land. I'm reminded of the Beatitudes, right? And so there's a lot of Jesus in this. So don't fret and trust in the Lord. This is the message that I'm getting. Trust or surrender my anxieties, cast my burdens. Trust that the way of the Lord is the higher way, the way of love, the way of nonviolence, the way of patience and love of my enemy and my neighbor. This is the way, even if it doesn't make sense. And my brother Malcolm X, he was critical of that posture. And I think he was opening up towards the end of his life, but he was critical of the nonviolent posture. He thought it was weakness. And some people today are still thinking that a nonviolent approach is weakness. When I think it is strength. When we see this in Jesus, we see strength. We see this in the cross. The cross is humiliating. But this is something that we raise up as Christians. We say that this is where strength is and vulnerability. And I think a posture like this is what is talked about in this text. Trust is to be vulnerable. So, man, my encouragement for myself and for you is to keep trusting in the Lord and keep doing good, even when that good is not celebrated, even when that good doesn't appear to be working or bringing about the results that we want. And I think that was a very fair critique that Malcolm X was bringing, that this is not something that appears to be effective in our reality. But there's some things that are happening within us, first of all, that are happening within us as we adopt this posture. And who knows what could be. I think we can anticipate that maybe God and the Spirit will do something good about what we're trying to do and the posture that we're trying to have, even if we don't see it in our lifetime. I think that's what trust is all about. So trust in the Lord and do good. That's the message I'm getting from this. Thank you so much for sitting with me for a little bit to reflect on this text, and I hope some of these words were helpful for you.